so hard this season, and I want to congratulate you on your accomplishments and your achievements. I want to then say thank you to everyone who not only made this tournament possible, but who also made this organization possible, and for the opportunities that you give us. I want to say congratulations to Mr. Coleman. I know it's an honor for me, and I know it also is for him. Most importantly, I want to say thank you to my team and to my coach, because although I may be the one standing up here, this truly is a team sport, and without them, there's no way that I could be here. So, with that, let's begin. The resolution today is a new day has dawned for Alawi. The way I'm going to define this today is a new day, meaning there is a significant political change in Iraq in the favor of Alawi. Alawi is Ayad Alawi, who is the leader of the UNI party in Iraq, which gained majority yesterday in the election. The weighing mechanism today is going to be resolution of fact, meaning either a new day has dawned or it hasn't, so very straightforward. I have 3 points today. First of all, it shows in Westernism and in secularism. Secondly, it shows in legitimacy of the elections. And third, it shows in policy. First of all, let's talk about secularism. Alawi politics don't support theocracy. Now, traditionally in Iraq, their law system, or their entire system, is based on Sharia law, or Muslim law. Because they voted in a secular leader, a leader who does not support theology, it shows that Iraq is making this change, is making this transition towards a more secular ideal in politics. They are no longer supporting the two parties, the theology in their politics, but are moving towards a more secular politics. And this is according to CrimeWatch.com. This has obviously never been done before in Iraq, so this is a new dawn, a new day for Iraq in terms of the way their politics are being done. Secondly, in terms of legitimacy in elections, this is one of the first elections that can actually be considered legitimate in Iraq. The United States ambassador praised the overall integrity of the election and said that this will lead to prominence of elections over sectarian politics in Iraq. Alawi will lead to the end of these, or will lead towards the end of these sectarian politics in Iraq to a greater practice of legitimacy in elections. Third, policy. Let's talk about Alawi policy and how this is going to change the operations of politics in Iraq. Although Alawi is a Shiite, which is the majority Muslim group, he is advocating for Sunni minorities to also have a voice. This has traditionally never been done in Iraq. He's advocating that both parties have a voice. He's advocating for equality. He also has very pro-Western politics. The entire region has traditionally been against Western politics and Western practice, but because they elected Alawi, because Alawi was elected as the majority leader, it shows that they are moving towards pro-Western politics. Alawi's party, the UNI party, facilitated the invasion of Iraq and helped the United States look for weapons of mass destruction. So this is basically showing that because they elected Alawi in a legitimate election, they're not only moving towards a more secularist principle in Iraq and moving towards not using theology as much in politics, but moving towards the secular principles, but it also shows that they are going to value the legitimacy of elections, true elections, over secular politics. And also that the policies that Alawi represents and the policies that Alawi advocates for are going to make significant change in Iraq towards moving them in this direction. So with that, I would urge for an affirmative ballot that a new day has dawned for Alawi.
Ready to hold more? Okay, just hold up the microphone. Does everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome. Ready?
Yes.
Okay, so we're talking about the fact that we're having an increase in the secularism, right?
Correct.
Okay. So when we're dealing with that, do we need to look towards Alawi's character and exactly what kind of politician he is when we're determining what kind of policies he's going to make?
Well, yes, but Alawi's politics are towards non-theocracy politics, so he promotes not using theocracy in his politics. Has it always been that way? That's what his policy stands for and his party stands for, the UNI party.
Okay, but has he always been that way?
I mean, for what I can tell from his politics, what he represents, it will move Iraq towards more secular.
Okay, cool. And then we're talking about Westernism. You said that, that they no longer support theocracy. This is the first time this happened, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when we're looking towards the Sunnis and the Shiites in general, will this shift be able to overcome the thousands of years of rivalry that two have had?
Well, the fact that the majority of Muslims in a legitimate election elected someone who does not stand for theocracy principles or who is against using theocracy in politics shows that they're coming towards a common ground.
Okay. How many people elected him? What was the percentage by which he won?
I'm not sure the exact percentage, but I do know that 62% of the total Iraqi population voted in the election.
Okay. So 62% voted.
Yes.
All right. So if even 13 or 14% of them were to vote for the other person, did he capture the majority of the Iraqi people?
Of the majority that voted?
Of the Iraqi people in general.
Well,
How do you count the rest of the people?
we have to look at the fact that even though the Iraqi people's lives were being threatened, 62% still felt it was necessary to vote in this election and make this election legitimate.
Okay.
We have to look at the number of people who voted.
And we're talking about legitimacy. You said the U.S. ambassador praised this, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Has this gone under any kind of contestation legally, the election?
Well, the UN has sanctioned this. In the past election that was technically thought of,
Domestically within Iraq, has there been any contestation on it?
not that I'm aware of.
Okay, thanks. Ready to swap? Oh, not yet. First of all, I want to thank you all for being here. I have to confess something. Whenever I heard about this banquet the very first time I did IPDA, I said to myself, man, that would be a dream for me to debate in front of that many people. I absolutely love public speaking. In fact, I want to be a debate coach when I get a little older and graduate. So seeing this many competitors gathered in front of me, that gives me a hope for the rest of my future. And I can't thank each and every one of you, coaches and competitors alike, for that sort of thing. More importantly, I want to thank my team. Y'all have been there for me every step of the way. When I came to San Francisco State University, I didn't think they had a debate team. Adam Key currently was doing it independently. When I found out about it, I joined immediately, and I stand before you here today because of that. I honestly thought this round was out of my reach for the better half of my career here, but I'm so glad that I'm here, and Emily, congratulations. I'm so honored to debate you. I wanted to debate you because I love a good challenge, and I'm sure I'm going to get that today. So having said that, let me go ahead and jump into this. Ms. Wellborn, are you ready? Okay, the roadmap, I'm going to be going down the affirmatives case and then going to the negatives. So we're looking at this, we're looking at a resolution of fact. Keep that in mind, it's going to be very important when you're deciding today's round. This either has happened or it hasn't. Now the negative off case has multiple examples, not only conflicting what the affirmative says, but more importantly than that, showing you how in the status quo, today, what the affirmative must prove, this is not the case. So I accept her definitions in a way mechanism, and then we go on to Westernism. And she says that they do not support theocracy. We need to look at this logically for a moment. At the point where she tells me only 62% of them voted, and doesn't give me the evidence of exactly how many of these people voted for one candidate over the other, we can't be sure they captured the majority. At the point where we're not sure they captured the majority, we have to realize these people are still going to have an impact on the political climate of Iraq. At the point where we don't know, and we still have that many people unaccounted for, this could very easily mean that they're not really swinging away from this. And when we look towards the new day, we cannot claim that there's been a severe political shift because there just isn't enough time to know if the religious extremes on either side are going to cause some sort of backlash. Then we go on to legitimacy, and I'm going to get to this directly in the negative off-case points. But what we have to understand is even though the U.S. ambassador praised this, I asked her cross-examination, she cannot tell me if there has been any legal legitimacy. I do know this for a fact, and we'll give that to you in my case. Because remember, we are looking at the facts of this. Then we go on to the policy, and he says that there's a Shiite majority, and advocating both parties has a voice, and this is a good thing, and this is good for the Western support and all that. It ties back into Westernization. I'll address all these in the off-case points. So let's go ahead and look at that very quickly. First, we need to look towards the lack of support that he actually has. According to CNN, that he does not really favor either religious group. Now, this becomes very important when we're looking at the culture of Iraq. As we all know, the Sunnis and the Shiites have been locked in a 1,000-year grudge as to which one of them has the correct religion. So the point where we don't really know, that she says there's a shift, but she offers you no logical warrant as to how this shift in politics is going to overcome 1,000 years of grudge. At that point, we cannot logically say that this political climate has shifted. Just because we have certain people voting one way doesn't mean the culture, doesn't mean the actual political climate of the country itself has shifted. Furthermore, we look towards March 26, 2010 of the Washington Post, which that painted him, and the hierarchies agreed that he is the American appointee. Now, this makes logical sense when we go to the fact that the U.S. ambassador supported him. So the point where we realize he is the American appointee, and that we're getting support from the U.S., this seems a little biased. But what I will give you are domestic policies, things done by the Iraqi people with no influence from the U.S. government or the U.S. people whatsoever that show you how the new day has not dawned. Then we go on to the second point of character. And this is the character of Alawi himself. What we have to realize is that he previously opposed American involvement and previously was for against secularism, and now is. This comes to you from 2007 Washington Post article. He wrote for the Washington Post saying that he was opposed to secularism. Now in 2010, he magically says that he now supports secularism. So we're looking at if the new day is gone. When we elect someone like Mr. Alawi into office, we don't know if he is factually thinking one way or the other. At the point where I give you perfectly logical and factual evidence that he has not gone one way or the other, he's actually, and it's a bit of American term, a flip-flopper, if you would, we don't know if this political climate is really going to shift. We don't know if this new day has truly dawned. At that point, because we don't know his intentions, we don't know what he's going to do finally, because he supports one in 2007, then 3 years later supports the other. We don't know if this political climate has truly changed. Then we go on to the New York Times on March 21st. And what they say here is that all 4 of the political parties have petitioned the Supreme Court to try and have an overrule of the election and a manual recount. Now this brings me directly into my 4th point, that of dirty politics. What we have to understand is, according to the Associated Press, Al-Maliki has petitioned and petitioned the Iraqi Supreme Court to have him select the new government should this recount fall away. Now, at this point, we have to understand that when we have so many legal ties, so much legal convolution in what's actually going on, we cannot logically say that the new day is gone because, 1, there are legal protests, 2, the culture itself really isn't affected, and 3, the political climate really hasn't changed because we don't know what this politician is going to do. But it gets worse than that. Okay, according to the AP, we can look towards the fact that there is an actual court case going through right now, and the Supreme Court of Iraq has ruled that they must decide who the final candidate, who the final winner is. And what we have to understand is they are currently going through the process of organizing and then getting ready for a manual recount. So at the point where we're looking at today's resolution, let's look at the broad view for a moment. She tells us that a new day has dawned because of the fact that the election has occurred. But what I tell you is that even legitimacy, the direct second point of the affirmative, is being challenged within Iraq. This goes away from U.S. spies. This goes away from the U.S. American people. This goes directly to the Iraqi people, to the government in place with their checks and balances who are going and asking for a manual recount. At the point where we don't know if he legitimately won, at the point where we can't account for the full majority of Iraq, at the point where we don't know what exactly he's going to do, we cannot at all logically assume that this new day has dawned. So for all these reasons, I urge a negative ballot today and step down.
Could you get my camera case out? My battery's going to die soon.
All right, let's go get started. Would you say that America has legitimate elections?
Does America have legitimate elections? Yes, it would.
Does the entire population of America vote in America's elections?
No, but our voter turnout is significantly higher.
It is? What is our voter turnout?
I don't have any necessary numbers on that, but I would say that logically it's probably higher than 10%.
Okay, but even at the fact that we don't have the entire population, we still consider a majority a legitimate election, correct? Representation by the majority if you choose to vote?
Representation by the majority, yes. But we're looking at the political climate with such a highly charged nation, that doesn't really make logical sense anyway.
Okay, let's talk about Maliki real quick and the fact that he is urging for a recount. Is this not traditional in Iraqi society that he would urge for a recount because he lost the election?
It may or may not be traditional, but the point of the matter is, when we don't know if the election is legitimate, we cannot say that the new day has dawned.
Is the United States the only one who has sanctified this election as legitimate?
I don't know who else has done it, and if you have other evidence to the contrary, that's fine, but I'm looking at the direct country itself, the country that we're talking about today, and they haven't sanctified it.
Okay, let's talk about the character of Alawi real quick, and you said that he was a flip-flopper. Now, at the point when the majority of Iraqi people who vote for him based on his politics and based on something he's represented for the last 3 years, would you not say that they consider him to be knowledgeable in these topics that he represents?
This goes beyond the election. This is more a philosophical argument. At the point where we don't know what he's really going to do because he's expressed both views in such a short time frame, we can't logically say that he's going to continue on the path that he has now because he's already shown the potential of fork in the past.